This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Clive, and behind the camera is Marcel. And we have managed to find some lions. We're going to give you one quick look at them because they're going into such a thick area here. And I don't know if we're actually going to be able to follow them anymore. Oh, there's one just on our left here. He's going to come in front of us soon. Okay, so these are all members of the mountain pride. And we're very lucky this morning. Literally just left the lodge. And 5 or so minutes along the road, there they were, just lying in the road. So sometimes mornings are really easy. Okay, we're going to try and get up and around them, but I don't know if it's going to work, but let's give it a go. Please remember to send through your questions this morning for the kids to kidsquestions at wildearth.tv, and for the adults using the hashtag WildEarth. Shoo, this is a very thick area here. No, I think that might actually be it for us. I don't think we're going to be able to get in here and follow them. And also if they are on the hunt, which is quite possible, it looks like they might be doing that. You know, us following behind them is creating noise, which would then make, let's say there's some zebra or something in the area, which would then make the zebras look towards this direction, and then that might give the it might give the zebras an extra chance to get away. So we don't want to help either side of them hunting. So I think we'll rather leave them be. We might go back to this road and just drive along there and see if they do pop out, but otherwise we'll let you carry on with your safari.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to andBeyond Ngala this morning. My name is Bunny. I've got Owen behind me as a cameraman for the morning. We are back on the spot where we started our beautiful day yesterday with the Birmingham Pride. And now we looking and seeing the vultures that we left here last night while we left the lions roaring. They haven't flew anywhere, so we are gonna just investigate this area just to see if there is anything left from those 2 hyenas that the pride killed. And after that we're going to search for the tracks of the pride and see where the pride might have headed. So it's a beautiful morning. It feels a little bit cold again as yesterday, not really as bad as yesterday, but still cold. So it is exciting to see the vultures still pitching up in the trees, and it will be interesting to find out what might have happened to those hyenas overnight. Most birds are busy calling all over around us. I don't know if you can hear all the sounds. It's also beautiful sounds, but not as loud as those lions last night. So this is it. Let's tune in and sit comfortably and try and stay warm and see what we can get for the day. Beautiful indeed. With some vultures starting to fly around on distance, we are gonna start off and start going around and investigate the scene and see what we can get. That hippo looks like he's freezing there. Okay. A very well organized good morning from the hippo. Rafa, in this particular waterhole, there's no crocodiles that I know of at the moment, but Rafa, that will not make me feel comfortable to jump in, because in some waterholes in this property we do have crocodiles, and crocodile can cover some vast distances overnight, moving from one waterhole to the other if they see a need to do so. So, not knowing what might have happened last night, I will not be too comfortable to jump in, but saying that I've never seen a crocodile in this particular waterhole before. So while we start our morning and search around, I'm going to send you over to James to also say good morning, and let's see what we can get.
Good morning, hello and welcome. My name is James Henry. BK Bokomoso is on camera today. There is his rather elegant thumb. And we are heading to the western sides of Djuma Private Game Reserve today because we can hear some zebras doing the following. Which is normally an alarm call. Sometimes an alarm call, sometimes it's them fighting with each other. They've done it repeatedly, so I think that they are having a fight somewhere nearby. But it might be that they're being set upon by the Djuma Pride. Now, I'm sure, as Barney and Clive have told you, not Barney and Clyde, it's quite funny, Barney and Clive have told you may speak with us during the course of this live safari. And please do so using the hashtag WildEarth. Alternatively, the chat streams on YouTube and Twitch. Alternatively, if you're a youngster, you can send us an email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. I don't think there's any other way to get hold of us, unless, like Puma, you are able to communicate with telepathy. He sends through telepathic questions. You may try smoke signals, says Emma, who's directing the final control, but that may take a while. Yes, indeed. It certainly would take less time, however, than trying to make use of the South African Postal Service, which is a sad husk of its former self, like so many things. Now, we're going to stop here, look at the sun, and have a listen to see if we can hear the sound of the zebras, while BK Bokomoso shows you the rising sun. I'll be quiet so that you may listen to the dawn chorus. Couple of Franklins. Hornbill. Yes, Safari Kitty, it's a pink lemonade sky. Might be described as a pink gin sky too, although I suppose it's a little bit early for that. Is it ever too early for pink gin? Probably. PK, what happened there? Did you have a bit of a conniption?
Just bubbling a bit.
Ah, the Lowveld is no longer sloping towards the south. North, sorry. Is that me or you shaking this thing around, BK? Oh, it's you. You're looking for something to clean the lens with. I see. Sorry about that, everybody. Between BK and I, I'm sure you're probably all feeling fairly seasick. Well, there comes the sun as we hand you 100 kilometres off to the west to Pridelands and Mike.
Good morning, everyone. So glad you could join us here at Pridelands. We are currently on the hunt for some hyenas. We've been hearing them making a lot of noise. I think you might be able to hear it in the background, just to the left of us. In this rocky ridge to the left of us over here, we know there are lots of hyenas. We know there are lots of hyenas that are around this area, and a leopard as well with youngsters. So we're wondering if maybe she's made a kill somewhere there or something like that, and these hyenas are bothering her. So we're trying our best to see if we can find her somewhere or find what's going on. We just need to find a way to get in there closer to this hyena action. So we're going to try and see what we can do over the rest of the morning to get closer to where these hyenas are. Definitely something interesting happening in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a loop in this area, find what's the easiest way to get into that area, and then see what we can find of these hyenas. I'm sure that it doesn't sound too frenetic. It sounds like whatever the main action was that we heard earlier has died down. But it will be interesting to see what's going on. I'm going to send you back to James whilst we search, enjoying a sunrise.
Sun has now finally come up, or is coming up. BK has cleaned the lens. I'm not shuffling around, so you have a lovely still picture. I haven't heard the zebras again. They must have been around here somewhere. So what I think we'll probably do is do another brief check around this area, and then we'll go off and have a look at the hyena den, see if Corky wants to introduce us to her new bebe, and then make a plan towards the east, as is the usual modus operandi. Whenever I look at the sun like this, I think of the billions of explosions, nuclear explosions going on to create the energy in the star that provides us with life, that is the sun. And it just blows my mind at the scale of what's going on in the middle of that great ball of gas. Billions of atomic bombs going off continuously as hydrogen is turned into helium through the process of nuclear fusion. I suppose what's so amazing is that it's so big, so vast, that despite the incredible number of explosions going on, that fuel that fuels it will not run out in the lifetimes of anyone on planet Earth. Indeed, it will not run out for the next billion years or so, I think. I think that's what it is. Whereupon it will probably become a red giant, and its size will envelop the Earth and destroy all life thereon. Phew. No, wild minds can't comprehend the power, A, and B, they can't actually comprehend the numbers. Once you go above a number like 10,000, it's actually very difficult to understand the scale of difference between 10,000, 100,000, a million, and a billion. In fact, especially between a million and a billion. You know, if you think of the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire, people don't tend to understand the scale of what they're talking about. So, and also when we talk about the numbers of stars, the numbers of galaxies, it's just unfathomable. When we think about, we talk about going to inhabit planets that live or that orbit other stars similar to our sun. Of course, there's absolutely no possibility of that. And no possibility of a technology yet that could do that, because the distances are so unbelievably vast. The next closest star to us is Alpha Centauri, which I think is 4.2 light years away. Now, just to work out the number of kilometers that is, you can do that by doing the following. It's 4.2 light years, right? A light year is the distance that light can travel in a year. Light travels at 300,000 kilometers per second. So basically what you've got to do is take 300,000, multiply it by the number of seconds there are in 1 year, and then multiply that by 4.2. So it's 300,000 times 60 times 60 times 24 times 365 times 4.2. And that'll give you the number of kilometers between us and Alpha Centauri. And there are no habitable planets around that star. So it really is quite unfathomable.
Sure. Hey, Nigel. Copy, we had the table prize. Have I share planes last night or just north?
I shall move on from here and see if I can find the zebras.
Copy, that's very interesting. Thanks, Nigel. What's the breakdown of that?
So we driven around and we got back into the crime scene where these dead hyenas are. So we see one that's still quite fully intact. There was just a vulture in this area earlier on that managed to flew away as we try to get position here. It doesn't look like other hyenas would have come around. They were possibly still scared of that commotion that happened the previous night. So there's a lot of vultures around, as you saw when we first had set in the Waterhole, possibly waiting to see clearly, and they will most likely to be the one that is going to come down and finish this hyena. So they're most likely to wait a little bit until it warms up a little bit. Once it's warmed up, they will come down, which will be quite a scene looking at how many of them are around to actually see them coming down. So the Pride has definitely moved on. They're going to drive around and see if we can pick up the tracks and which direction they're heading and see how it goes. If it wasn't a hyena, or if it wasn't for that commotion that happened the previous night with these hyenas getting killed and how loud possibly the lions were, if this was any other animal, the hyenas would have finished it off by now. Because this particular area next to this waterhole, there is a clan of hyenas which is quite big that often comes down here to drink. We don't know where the termite mound is, where they're actually living, but there is a high density of hyena that comes around in this particular section of the waterhole. So the fact that this hasn't been still intact, it does goes to show how they remember how dangerous it was in this particular area the night before. So they possibly will stay out for a few days until they forget about it completely, and then they'll start making their way back in again. It's surprising, and I think possibly the same thing, because yesterday afternoon there were jackals that were not too far from where the Pride was, But after the lions were roaring and a little bit of commotion from the youngsters chasing the jackals, they possibly ran off and didn't think of returning after that because they possibly thought that the lions would still be around. We never know. Maybe those lions, after we left them last night, managed to stick around in this area for a while. That made those jackals give up completely. But they were around, so there's chances are that that was the case. So they associate lions and hyenas with danger. So what we're going to do now, we're going to leave this hyena be, and then we're going to carry on with our mission for the morning and see what we can get.
So we found the hyena, or at least one of the hyenas, on the top of this rocky ridge, looking rather nervously towards where this noise is coming from. So up here in this little saddle, behind this green fig tree, you can hear all the other hyenas calling. Not sure what it is going on. It could be a clan battle. It could be that there's a member of another clan which has turned up and these hyenas are not happy about it. Amazing to hear the sound. It's not often you get to hear them calling with full voice like this. We don't want to disturb them, so I'm not going to go closer just yet. I want to see what this other hyena does. Maybe it goes a bit closer. It's keeping its distance, which is quite strange. Maybe it is the reason for all this noise. I hope you can all hear what's going on. It's very amazing to hear these sounds. Liz, I love this sound also. It's one of those sounds that it's like a lion's roar. It gets deep inside of you. It's an incredible eerie sound, especially on a cold, dark night. You can just see another hyena's head just popping up behind these rocks. This might actually even be a den site of some sort. So that looks like a fairly small hyena. I can't really see it very clearly. Actually, it looks like it's got some scratches on its face. It might not be a young hyena. I almost don't want to say anything, just because it spoils this incredible sound. We were discussing that we might need to change the name of Pridelands to Clanlands because the hyenas have been so amazing recently. And they visit us every night in the camp. In fact, it might even be the same clan. I know they sometimes have huge territories. Alright, what I think we must do is actually try and get a bit closer to see what's going on. It'll be tricky with all this thick vegetation around, but we'll try and see if we can wend our way a bit closer in a moment. Lisa is wondering how many different sounds a hyena make. Well, Lisa, they make a lot of different sounds. As you can hear, they make these high-pitched squeals. They sometimes make this laughing twitter. These are usually sounds that they use when they're a little bit excited. They're sometimes called laughing hyenas. So often when they're having a fight or conflict with lions or any other animal, they'll make these laughing sounds. Long-range contact calls are those long whooping sounds that you hear. Of course, growls as well, a variety of different growls when they're upset or uncomfortable. So they make a lot of different sounds. In fact, I think they're one of the most vocal of all the animals in terms of all the sounds they can make. So, yeah, absolutely, they make a lot of different sounds. All right, so we're going to try and see if we can get a bit closer. It could be quite tricky, but we'll see what we can do. Just bear with us as we try. It's a fairly rocky area, so we do need to take it real slow. Right, I think that this is going to take a little bit of concentration, so let's send you over to James at Djuma for a moment whilst I try and get a bit closer.
I haven't gone anywhere near the hyenas yet. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with the zebra. There are zebra tracks all over the place, and the tracks of male leopard as well, but we're just sort of driving around, seeing if we can find what was happening. But at this stage, nothing. Oh, there's a Ngala. Let's have a quick look at him, and I'm going to turn around. There he is, trying to get behind the bush as fast as he can. And gone. Thank you, Ngala. That's very kind. There's another one, BK. Don't worry. There he is.
Morning, I did hear you, I think it was yesterday or the day before that, you found a giant eagle out somewhere. No, we wasn't us. Sorry about that. Okay, no problem.
Come on, Ngala. It's a phenomenal sighting. No, monkey, they're not like elk at all. Well, I mean, they're similar to elk as what hyenas are to lions. So they are from the same order, the odd-toed ungulates, but they're totally separate. I think it's a suborder. I forget exactly what taxon it is. But these are antelope, and an elk is a deer. And although they look very similar, and they have very similar ways of life, they are not the same.
So we've managed to pull forward a little bit more through this rocky area, and we found the whole clan. They're all congregated here at the very, very top of this rocky ridge, and they are looking off to the left. Well, they're looking everywhere now, but what they are interested in is off to the left. They've been making a lot of noise. At the moment, they're quiet, just looking around. I think the sound of us moving in has got them a little bit interested in us, but in a moment they'll start to focus again on that was on the left. See the ones on the top there, on the left-hand side of the screen, are looking intently into the bushes. I wonder what's going on. It sounded like another hyena was calling from that direction. So it really could be that another member of a different clan has wandered into this clan's territory, and now they've just got it held up in this rocky area as a little defensive place. I love working out these little mysteries. Why are they making noise? What is the reason for it? I almost wish I had a translator. Just figure out what they're saying. So we had a question earlier from Lisa, I think, who asked all the different sounds that hyenas make. So you can hear that long whooping call, and that was a moment ago. And that is a long-range contact call. So it might be that this hyena is calling for help. Maybe saying, I am stuck, I don't know what to do, please come and help me. Les has asked if I've ever seen hyenas in mourning. I don't. Mourning as in, mourning a lost one or something like that. I don't know. I don't think that I have. But certainly I know that mother hyenas, if they lose their cubs, would probably be quite upset. So Les, I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever seen a hyena in mourning. Not like elephants, which we know often go to the site of a member of the family who's died and stand and pick at the bones, sniff around. Look how this hyena puts its head down when it calls. That helps the sound to reverberate, to send that sound much further than it would if it just called forward or up, because it amplifies the sound as it bounces off the ground. Of course, plenty of other sounds happening around us as well. Lots of birds also waking up on this nice, beautiful sunrise. Gosh, Annalise, it's a very haunting sound. It's mournful. It's eerie. We have been so. I don't know if you ever watched The Lion King as a kid, but it always portrays the hyenas as these creepy shadow animals that stay in these like shadowlands, and that sound sticks with us, and all we think is that this is like kind of an evil creature. But of course hyenas are not evil at all. They're very unique and interesting and very, very family oriented animals. They're very, very protective of each other, of the members of the clan. So although it is a very eerie and creepy sound, it kind of gets my heart pumping a little bit when I hear it, especially up close. Somewhere beyond those 3 tallest trees is where this other hyena is calling from. I don't know if we'll be able to get any closer, unfortunately. There's a lot of thickets here, but we can try in a little bit. You see, there's more hyenas just amongst the rocks there. There's some hyenas with their tails up, definitely a sound of anxiousness or excitement. Let's try and see if we can unravel this mystery by sticking around a bit longer.
So we have left the dam and we're checking around. We haven't completed a circle yet. So far we haven't found any tracks of this pride going anywhere. We are just doing a loop around. Of course, they were full bellies. So we starting to think that maybe they didn't walk far, that they might be still left in that section since we haven't found the tracks. What we're gonna carry on doing is to make sure we do a complete loop before we conclude 100% what might have happened. And if they have not come out, then we will head back into that area to go see if we can pick up their tracks and walk, which might mean that they didn't go too far at all. But knowing the Birmingham Pride, I'm not keeping my fingers crossed for them to be in that block, because at this time of the year, they walk some serious long distances because of the scarcity of food, in particular because they spend a lot of time close to the waterhole. So a lot of animals that might have come to drink during the day, you would have seen them there. They will possibly move further away. So for them to actually get something to try and hunt might take a little bit of time. So we're gonna complete this loop and see until we spot some tracks, and we will take it from there and see what they might have done overnight. Though, yes, hyena, out of all the predators, they are the one that are very well known for eating their own. So with hyenas, they don't really let anything go to waste. They eat anything and everything that they can find, including their own. If you think about it, for us living in the bush, if you've got a pair of your shoes that you've been walking around in the bush with for a few days, maybe you step in some elephant dung and stuff, if you leave them outside your house, hyenas find that it will be gone. They will eat all of that. So imagine another hyena, a little bit of flesh with a little bit of blood. For them will be a bit of a delicacy. So they will take anything and everything they can get. Cool. So a little bit of an impala, few impalas up ahead of us, just on the road. Still looking a little bit cold. The rest of the impalas are slightly to the right. We're just gonna watch this one while he walks across the road. It's a young male. I don't know if you've noticed, he's got tiny little horns. As that one moves off, just to make sure that we don't really make them move when they don't want to, we will start moving slightly forward. You can have a view of few others in the bush there, starting to feed in this early morning, looking super cold. If you look, you can see they're looking slightly darker than they usually do when it's nice and warm. So they're erecting their fur like we get goosebumps when we're cold. They erect their fur. It's called Paulo erection. They just doing that to be able to block the cold air out so that they can stay warm. As the sun starts going up, you will see, if we find other impalas, the color, they look much darker than they normally are. But in the morning like this, because of the way their fur is standing, that's why they look dark. As the day goes, their fur will go back to normal and they will look nice and shiny. So we're going to let these impalas move. They look like they're moving out of sight. We're going to carry on with our mission of trying to complete that loop to see if the line tracks are marked and see what we can get.
So, just about 10 seconds ago, all the hyenas dashed away from wherever it is they are calling at. We didn't hear a noise, we didn't hear a sound that disturbed them, but they all went running away. I'm not sure what happened exactly. Could be that the animal, I think it's another hyena that's been stuck on these rocks, defending itself from this rest of this clan, has just rushed out to try and chase them and has gone back now. I'm not sure. It was very interesting. But you can see the hyenas are still not leaving. They're not ready to leave this individual yet, whichever it is, if it's a hyena or another animal. It looks like they're settling in for a long morning. They might actually spend the whole day here. Now, usually these hyenas would be spending their days around a den site of some sort. Annalise is asking if hyena clans get bigger than 6. Definitely, Annalise. I've seen many hyena clans much larger than 6. In fact, the hyena clan here on Pridelands, I think, was counted at least 9 individuals at the den site not long ago by Taylor and Gert. I'm not sure how many are here. There seems to be about 7 or 8 individuals around this particular area. So most definitely. And in some areas, I mean, the size of the clans is dependent on, food availability and space availability. So, and also other larger predators like lions. So in areas where the hyenas have plenty of food, do you see that? They're very on edge. Very on edge. They're excited. So yeah, in areas like East Africa, I know the Ngorongoro crater, the hyenas there have actually become the dominant predator, more dominant than lions, and there's a lot of them. Sometimes clans numbering in the 20s or even 30s or 40s. Seems to have calmed a little bit, though. We haven't heard them call for a few minutes. So perhaps they're, uses a lot of energy making those very loud, long calls. So perhaps they're just starting to settle a little bit. Lisa, you're asking if hyenas, like these spotted hyenas, are related to coyotes. I'm assuming the coyotes that you find in the North Americas. And no, they share some similar characteristics. They have that long snout and sharp teeth for cutting meat. But the coyotes are canids, members of the dog family, and hyenas are hyenidae. So that's members of the hyena family. So they're a family all on their own, neither related to dogs or cats, somewhere in between. Actually more closely related to things like badgers and mongooses, but still very different to them as well. But yeah, different dogs and cats. One of the things that makes them similar to the badgers and mongoose is that they mark their territories with what's called an anal pasting. So they evert, or they push out a special sac that's located in the anal cavity, and they wipe it on grasses and twigs, and that leaves a smell that they can get for many weeks sometimes if it's a strong one. So that's anal pasting. As you know, dogs usually urinate, and so do the cats. They urinate to leave their scent mark for the most part. They probably also can do a type of anal pasting, but it would not be the same as what the hyenas do. They definitely look like they're settling down now. Still looking towards that rocky area that's just to the left, but certainly not seeming like they're ready to go on the offensive. What we might do is try and move a bit closer, and we'll see what happens in the next little while.
Welcome back again to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. And myself and Marcel we came back to the spot where the male lion last night was eating that zebra carcass, and he has been for the last few days. And it seems like finally, after about 3 or 4 days even, his brother has joined up with him. Look at that, he's just gotten up a little bit. So, and he's back down. Look at that. So both these males are finally back together. It has definitely been a while. And now they're lying back to back. Both with some very, very full bellies. There can't be, with that male, the one male being here for the last 3 days or so, and the other one joining up now, that carcass must be finished. We unfortunately can't see it. It's quite deep in the bushes, well, where it was last night anyway. MJ, you're saying major bed hair, yeah. It was. As soon as he stood up like that, he almost looked like he got a bit of a fright. And he stood up and his hair was all over the place. Well, while we sit here with these lions waiting for them to wake up, we're going to send you back to James with some more hyenas.
Yes, we've come down to the den. There's not a lot of activity there, except to say that 4 or 5 hyenas have left the den, and this is the last one. Don't know who it is at this stage. I'm just going to move forward slightly, and they've all kind of gone in different directions. I don't know if some have perhaps circled back towards the den. Some of them went down there. One's just walked off straight in front of us, and then there's this one here, which is now also moving. I'm going to follow them, see if we can't find out where they're going, if there's some kind of smell of carcass on the air that they're following, or if they're just going off to do their sort of midday or daily snooze somewhere away from the den, which is generally what they do. There we have another. There we go. That's a decent view for you. A young hyena carrying a bone. Oh, there the rest. Yes, Cheryl, indeed. Corky was the matriarch before Ribbon was, and it's a very interesting situation because Ribbon was actually a very low-ranking hyena, and she ascended to the matriarchy through violence. That's her there, isn't it? I think that's Ribbon. Lying down on the right, I mean. Not sure why they've all got up and moved off. So fascinating. And they're so busy. Every single morning you wake up, there are tracks all over the place. So that's Tsaka standing in the front there. Thank you, Chris Rogue. Continued admiration for those who are able to identify any animal so fast. Let's continue. We'll have a look at... I think we're going to follow this big adult down the road there, Tsaka. Not big adult, but adult nevertheless. We'll leave Ribbon lying there because she doesn't seem to be doing anything. And this is not uncommon for hyenas to move off during the day, away from the den. And I think Lauren visited the den yesterday afternoon and there was no one around. And then they'll come back around sunset, feed, play. There he is on the road there, BK.
Sorry about those technical difficulties there. We are still sitting here in this place where we had the clan. It seems like they've started to move off. Whatever had their attention must have either become too boring or has stopped fighting with them. You know what bullies are like. They just want a reaction. And maybe these hyenas are not getting any reaction anymore, and so they're starting to move off. Gerrit and I were just wondering, what could it have been? And we came up with some theories. It could have been another hyena that was fighting with them. It could have been, we thought maybe an animal that had a carcass, but we didn't hear any growling or snarling. We can't see a carcass anywhere. And then we also thought maybe it could be a youngster. Remember, we talked about a leopard who has a den somewhere along these rocky ridges here. And we thought maybe the young leopard, if it was that, could be hiding amongst these rocks, sitting still and quiet, and that's what the hyenas maybe saw or smelt. I don't know. We can't quite figure it out. We don't know what exactly has been going on here, but most of the action seems to be dying down. The hyenas have mostly left, and one or two diehards still left. Looks like our last final survivor is deciding to move off. There it goes, down the rocky ridge. Doesn't want to be by itself with whatever it was that was causing the trouble. So, what to do now. I think we must maybe follow these hyenas down off this ridge and head to the bottom of the slope where they've headed to see if they've maybe settled down somewhere. They might take us towards their den site, or maybe they'll just rest somewhere in the sunlight on this nice warm morning. Well, it's actually a cold morning, but warm sun. As we head out, if we see anything interesting, we'll definitely keep you updated. Sir, I believe the question was, how far will we be able to hear a hyena if it moves off? Will we still be able to hear them if they've moved down the hill? Absolutely. We can hear hyenas from many kilometers away when they're calling at their full voice. It's a lot like lions. They can be heard about 8 kilometers away on a still, cool morning, but hyenas maybe not that far, but definitely very far. So I think we'll definitely be able to hear them. They're not more than a few hundred meters away by now. So if they started to make noise, we would definitely be able to hear them. Remember that. So whilst we sit here and watch this glow of the grasses, we'll see if anything pops out, and then we'll make our way out of here.
Well, I have to say that you guys have had an amazing morning with hyenas so far, and for me that's one of my favorite animals to watch is hyenas, and their sounds are so amazing. But we are back with these 2 very sleepy, lazy lions at the moment. They really don't seem to have done too much, but I guess there's not too much to do when you've got a full belly like that. So we're back on this hillside with a massive expansive view out on the left-hand side, which right now we are behind some trees, so we won't show you right now, but a few minutes ago we were just scanning with binoculars out over the grasslands, seeing what we could find. We saw some rhinos very far in the distance, so we might try head out that way after this. And even things like cheetah would, it's a perfect area, these big grasslands. So there's, if there is a cheetah sitting up, especially at this time in the morning, it might be sitting up on a bit of a termite mound, and that white on the chest would stand out really nicely. So we're scanning for that, but it doesn't seem like there's anything out there right now, any cheetah anyway. But I think we're still, after this, going to go and explore down that area. But you can imagine now how these lions with full bellies are just lazy. They've got no reason to move anywhere, to walk anywhere. George, you're saying these lions are mood, yeah. I agree. Very, very sleepy. The sun is just starting to creep up over the mountain. It's probably about 50 meters up above them on the mountainside. So I'd say probably in the next 10 or so minutes it might pop over the crest of the hill on our right and start to warm them up a little bit, because it's quite cold on this side of the mountains. You can just see like 2 piles of extra fur, which is obviously their heads and their manes. They've got their heads quite deeply buried in the grass there, it looks like. Joe, I've never seen them eat so much that they get sick. Oh, there's one head up, looks like, and back down. I've never seen them eat so much that they get sick. But let's say, for instance, this one male that's been with this zebra carcass for the last few days, he's going to eat and eat and eat until his belly is really full, and then he'll find somewhere to rest and lie down. And then he's going to go back and he's going to eat again for a little while, and he'll go and lie down. And he just keeps his belly full by eating. Once he's filled it up, just by eating a little bit every now and then just to keep himself full. But I've never seen them eat so much that they actually get sick. I know I sure have done that before. No, I'm joking. But, yeah, I've never seen an animal do that, no. Be interesting to see, though. Because there's some animals like, you know, lions are not worried about any other animals coming to steal their carcass. They're bigger than hyenas, they're bigger than leopard, they're bigger than cheetahs. They don't have to worry about something stealing their carcass if they're there. So, therefore, I guess they don't have to eat that quickly. They can afford to spend 3 or 4 days there eating. Whereas something smaller like let's say a cheetah, for instance, would have to eat quickly so that he can finish his meal and move off before other predators realize that there's a carcass there. And speaking of cheetah, I think we're going to leave these lazy lions now, because I don't think they're going to be doing much today with full bellies like that. And we're going to head down into these grasslands and maybe try and see if we can get a bit closer to those rhinos that we saw from a distance.
Good morning again from another beautiful day at Tswalu Kalahari. It is good to see you all, like kind of see you, but it's great having you with us. We're back with our meerkats again. It is just, I don't know why I'm so excited again today, but it is just a magnificent morning out here. There's not a breath of wind. The temperature's nice. It's everything about it is just so good. I'm super excited for today. I don't know what we're going to find. But we are starting the morning with these meerkats, and I think again part of my excitement is probably building to the fact that we're getting closer and closer and closer to the point when these meerkats are going to come out, the pups, the little ones, and I just really hope that we're actually around to see that first emergence of these little guys. So that's going to be something quite exciting. We've just done a quick scan of the burrows. Nothing untoward went on here last night. Right in front of Genre over there, there's some porcupine droppings. So there were porcupines around here last night. A brown hyena, a single brown hyena had passed quite far away from the burrows down in that direction over there. But yeah, there would be absolutely no threat to meerkats from him. He wouldn't show any interest in them. But otherwise, yeah, it's been a fairly quiet evening at these burrows last night, which is good for us, very good. So yeah, we like literally, it's countdown to the final couple of days now, and literally any day, these pups could come out. So this is going to be totally worth sticking around for these. I love this time of the day. Yeah, people often ask me, what is my favorite time of day out here? And I just don't have a favorite time. Shengi says, maybe a sneaky brown hyena. Yeah, brown hyenas can be sneaky. But a lot of these animals, especially your predators, are very, and I don't want to kind of anthropomorphize them too much, but your predators are often very wily. Just because they have to be. Their nature of their entire existence revolves around figuring out and trying to catch other things. And often it takes a little bit of understanding on their side to be able to figure out, okay, well, I need to go that way, or if I go that way, or, you know, check. So whereas a herbivore kind of like gives you the impression that it's just like, you'll just like walk up to a plant and like eat, and then walk to the next plant and eat. Your prey's not running away. But it's always very tempting to start anthropomorphizing animals, but I think we're all guilty of that. But yeah, this is going to be a very exciting time now, and yeah. So I don't know which burrow they're going to come out of, but let's wait and see and try to figure this out.
Well, we had a little bit of action for a second. Well, not action, I wouldn't say, that's pushing it. But one of the males got up, so I thought, okay, let's not go anywhere just yet. but it looks like they've flopped straight back down. So, yeah, just as I thought there might be a bit of movement, as I was saying, there can't be anything left on this carcass, so I would really be almost 100% certain that they were going to get up and maybe go to some water, because that's often what they do. Well, not often, that's always what they do after eating a big meal, is go and try to find some water. And there's a couple of options close to us. There's a fairly big watering hole quite far on our left. Kantika, these cats can see in black and white only, so no, not the same as us. Yeah, they're extra good vision at night. I guess they have to choose between that or seeing in colour. And because they've got really good vision at night, they can only see in black and white. Yeah, so we've got one big watering hole down on our left. We've got another one kind of over the ridge on our right. So I guess they could go to either. And I really thought that is what was going to happen, because the one got up, but then, as per usual with lions, he just flopped straight back down. I should have actually known better. But in the same breath, to see the two brothers back together is really nice. Stella, I'd say they're not the fussiest of drinkers. I've seen them drink from dirty little muddy puddles and obviously slightly cleaner water, but I've never seen them be all that fussy. They'll just find the nearest water and pretty much go to that. I would guess that probably if they know things like crocodiles are in one watering hole, they might try and not go to that one and rather go to a smaller one where they know there can't be a crocodile, because even a big lion like this is, could fall prey to a crocodile, and they don't want that, obviously. So yeah, they might have a bit of a preference on the size of watering hole. They might rather go to a smaller one and a closer one. That would be a terrible thing to see a crocodile catching a lion. That's horrible, but it happens. They have to watch out. You'll see when I've seen with all the cats, leopard, lion and cheetah, I've seen when they go down to the water to drink, they bend down close to the water, they actually start hissing at it. They look very carefully in the water and they start hissing and like baring their teeth at it, maybe to make any crocodile that's watching them see the size of their teeth and maybe think twice. But I don't think crocodiles really think twice about that kind of thing. Yeah, it's really nice to see these two brothers reunited after a few days. They often do split up. They might, the one might have been off marking his territory and scent marking and maybe looking for other lions, while the other one found this carcass and just decided to spend a few days here. Anyway, again, I think since they are flat down and probably not moving now we really are going to go and try find those rhinos this time. So we'll let you carry on.
So look at what we got here. What a special sighting this morning. Something we don't get to see that often. The tracks of that pride of lions are coming right on this direction, and as we cut around to hoping to see the tracks, there comes the ostrich. A big one indeed, which is quite beautiful to see. Okay, it's not something we get so often, but you can see how, and also a jackal heading towards where the ostrich is standing. Ostrich is not minding his business, not being bothered by the jackal at all. It's difficult to see where the jackal is at the moment. The grass is quite long. That's a male ostrich. Every now and again we luck out with these type of things. They're not so common. They're similar to cheetahs because this area is quite thick. So they like a habitat like here that's nice and open where they can be able to see predators from far. And if they can see things from far, they will be able to get themselves away quite easily. So this corner of the property has got these beautiful open areas. And every now and again, if we luck out to see cheetahs, this is where they often come from as well. See how the ostrich is standing and staring? Anishka, the most reliable defense for this ostrich will be to run off. Of course, ostriches do kick, but a lion is such a powerful cat that a kick from an ostrich might not put the lion off. So if a lion gets as close as that close for an ostrich to be able to kick it, afraid the ostrich might lose that fight and end up being killed. So a kick from an ostrich can be a dangerous thing for smaller things, but for a lion it wouldn't do that much damage to a lion, and an ostrich will be killed definitely. So when I saw that ostrich looking earlier, I've got trackers that are on tracks of this pride. They're heading straight towards where we are. They're still a little bit of a distance away, so when that ostrich was looking, I was getting slightly excited, thinking that maybe this ostrich is going to show us where these lions are. According to the tracks are still so fresh. It looks like they walked this morning sometime, so they're most likely to still be on the move now. I'm going to try and see if we can get another good view of this ostrich. So while we wait with this bird and check around to see if we can get another view, I'll send you to Mark in the meantime.
So we left those hyenas walking down the ridge. We can't find them again, but as we were looking for them, we saw this bird fly over us. It is a beautiful and magnificent saddle-billed stork, one of the very largest birds that you can possibly find in the whole of Pridelands. So this bird has just flown over and landed on this knobthorn tree and looked like it was wondering if it could make a nest here. I know that they do make big platform nests on top of large trees, and in fact there's another nest in the tree at the moment. I don't think that is the nest of this saddle-billed stork. It's sort of down amongst the branches, which would be very difficult for this huge bird to get to. So I think it's the nest of a different bird that this saddle-billed stork is interested in to see whether it can be used. Oh, it looks like it wants to have a scratch maybe? Not sure, or just, yeah, looks like it's scratching its own leg. Sometimes very important to scratch those itches. But yes, I think you had an ostrich that you were watching a moment ago. So an ostrich is the largest bird. It's flightless, though it cannot fly. And this is possibly one of the largest flying birds that you can get. Of course, the heaviest is a bird called a Cory bustard, but this bird might actually have the largest wingspan. I'll have to just double check it, but it's huge. A moment ago, it was opening its wings up as it tried to balance on these tiny little branches, and it showed off just how massive these wings are. So this bird is actually standing more than 1.5 meters tall, and when it spreads its wings, it's probably near to 3 meters. Actually, just want to check that to find out exactly how tall this bird is, because it is fantastic. So it doesn't say. Oh yes, 1.5 meters. I was correct. 1.5 meters tall. That's large, and weighing about 7 kilograms for a female. Butterfly, you agree with me, and I'm glad you do. It would be a shame if you didn't, because it is a very large bird. You're right. It's incredible to see. I mean, just to imagine something that's 1.5 meters tall, with a wingspan that's probably more than 2.5 meters, able to fly. It's incredible. I mean, it makes you wonder, the Wright brothers, when they decided to fly and create airplanes as we use them now. I mean, it's no wonder they wanted to. It just looks so magnificent. So you can see the wind is gently ruffling the feathers of this bird. So it's looking into the wind. It probably helps this very large bird to take off. It needs a bit of a headwind. Just to start flying from a standing start must be difficult for such a heavy bird. It weighs about 5.5 kilos. This is a male. The males are a little bit smaller than females, probably to do with having to develop eggs inside the body for the females. But the reason why you can tell this is a male is because it's got dark eyes and little yellow wattles on the bottom of the bill, just near its chin. You can just see the silhouette of the wattles there. And the saddle billed part comes from that yellow saddle just over the base of its bill, just in front of its eyes. That's where the saddle part comes from. It looks like it's trying to move. It might open its wings again, or it might fly off, I'm not sure. It definitely looks quite anxious. Sammy Jane, that's a good question. How large is the beak on average of this bird? I'm not sure, but when I look at it, it's a significant portion of its body length. So I'd probably say, 50 centimeters might be a bit much, but maybe about 40 centimeters, maybe a bit more. It's long, definitely long. So if you hold a ruler, an average 30 centimeter ruler, it's longer than that. So right now it's giving itself a bit of a scratch. So there at the base of the tail, there is something called a preen gland on most birds, and often you'll find them reaching their head back and rubbing along that preen gland to try and get some of these oils so that they can coat their feathers with oils. Keeps them nice and shiny and sleek, able to fly. Of course, this bird is very huge. If its feathers are not in the best condition possible, clean and shiny and smooth, then it won't be able to fly very effectively, and it will use a lot of energy. We're not so far from Leopard Dam, and so it will use that long bill, Sammy, to catch fish and frogs and small crustaceans at the edge of the water, wading in and waiting for them to move and then catching them. Very, very quick, actually, for such a huge bird. Oh, here we go. Looking around again. Oh. Wow, there it goes. Amazing. Look how those legs stretch out and the beautiful white feathers as it flies. There it goes. We saw a second one flying off earlier. This is the male of the pair. Goodbye, Mr. Saddle-billed stork. So, there's a question about whether the feet are gripping on the branches or whether it's balancing. That's a good question, because birds are actually classified in 3 different ways according to how their feet work. Well, 3 broad classifications. It's not hard and fast rule, but these particular birds cannot grip with their feet. They are literally just perching on their, sort of holding on, but they haven't got the specialized system that some birds have, which actually makes them clamp onto those branches. So on a very strong windy day, this bird will struggle to stay up on that branch. So no, they don't grip on as tightly as many birds can with specialized tendons that tighten when they put their weight on a branch. It's just resting its weight on the branch and holding on. So yes, it can hold on, but not very much. On a strong wind, it won't want to be sitting up on the top of that very exposed tree. It'll be sitting on the nest or down on the ground close to water where it can avoid the worst of the wind. Yeah, awesome. It's wonderful to see. You don't see them very often. So we're going to continue heading towards Leopard Dam, and we're going to send you over to Dylan, who's waiting for some meerkats.
That is very, very exciting to hear that our colleagues have seen a yellow-billed, saddle-billed stork. That's a beautiful bird. We don't get them here, unfortunately, but you never know when they rock up. So something exciting. The meerkats aren't up yet, but Veronica, meerkat habituator, when she came in this morning, she said she saw 2 male cheetah in the area moving in this direction. So Chandra and I, we're just going to keep on scanning out here. We've got this massive open valley, this big depression in front of us over here. And so often these cheetah males move through this area over here. So we're just going to keep our eye open for them and really I'm really hoping that we actually get to see them in the distance, because you never know what rocks up here early in the mornings when we get to these meerkats. You know, aside from the meerkats, is you know, we are quite far away from the vehicle. We're probably 200-300 meters from the vehicle, and occasionally you get things rocking up here. So, but we'll just keep scanning, because I mean, there's quite a bit of, I mean, it's open, but you get a lot of bush clumps and that down here, so you know that we could actually miss them fairly easily. But we're going to keep watching. And we have an ostrich in the far distance. There's a couple ostriches in the far distance. There's oryx, gemsbok. There's been some jackals around, but no promises. Calypso has asked, do we have sand cats? We don't have sand cats. No, we don't have sand cats, but we had a similar question yesterday. In fact, pretty much the same question yesterday. And I really, and not just with sand cats, but I love these kind of things where you're linking the ecology of different areas, because it means that there's a nice insight into understanding this environment and looking and say, well, okay, if you've got this kind of habitat, so there's a lot of sand, what about X, Y, Z, would they occur there? And it also raises the question of, well, why not? Excuse me, if we're saying we don't have sand cats, I'd be more interested in to know, why don't you have something occurring in an area, as opposed to why do you have something occurring there? Because if you've got this kind of habitat, so, well, yeah, it's brilliant, it could be good habitat for them, and they're here, well, that's fine. But if you've got brilliant habitat and they're not here, that raises a completely different question. And often those are the more difficult ones to answer. Because, you know, when a thing is present, you can say, well, it's here, there, because it's eating this, and it can live over there, you know, down these burrows, whatever. But things that are conspicuous by their absence, those often raise more interesting evolutionary questions. I'm anything but an angel, I promise you. Yes. Yeah. Genre makes me look like an angel. Yes. No, I'm no angel.
So, we are having a wonderful morning here at Pridelands. We've just gotten to Leopard Dam, and we found this small herd of elephants drinking at the Waterhole, including a tiny little youngster on the right-hand side of the screen, very shy of the camera, hiding behind Mummy. Just Leopard Dam never seems to disappoint us. There's always something interesting going on. There comes the little one popping out. Just having an exuberant morning. So peaceful at the dam. What is it, having a little scratch? This elephant doesn't look like it's fully in control of its little trunk just yet. Just investigating everything, moving its trunk around, sniffing and smelling. Oh, sweet. What's it doing with its foot? It keeps holding its feet up. So we know that elephants often use the base of their feet, the soft pads, to gather information, because there are a lot of vibrations that they pick up through there. This little one, oh, there's more elephants coming. Oh, there's a big elephant coming in the background, a bull. So the bulls often follow these herds around Pridelands. There's, you know, a very well-known big bull called Ezulwini, who often frequents us here. This is not Ezulwini, this is a younger bull. He just muscles his way right in there. I know, it is just rude. There's lots of elephants coming now. Just using my binoculars for a moment to make sure that it is a bull. It is a bull, yeah, I was right. So sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to tell, but the bulls, as like the one walking in here, have nice rounded foreheads and big, wide-spaced tusks. So it makes them a little bit easier to identify. The female on the left, she's a cow, and you can see they've got these angular foreheads, very flat on the front with a big sort of angle. She does not like this elephant just muscling in next to her baby. You see how the baby nestles under its mother there, just in case this male gets a little bit aggressive. Oh, you have to squeeze, you have to squeeze. Just about. Wonderful. So this little baby is also probably around about a year, maybe a little bit younger than a year. It can squeeze under its mother's belly like that, and no tusks showing. So, oh, just too much hard work. Peter says this is a beaut of a scene, and you're right, Peter. This is just magical. Seeing a herd of elephants coming down to drink, especially this tiny little baby, it's a real privilege. Such a privilege to share it with you as well. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Peter. And there's another young elephant trying to suckle. That elephant looks like it's probably nearing 3 years old, though. It had little tiny tusks. Look at this scene. Peter, enjoy it. Those two leadwoods in the background are becoming famous, always framing beautiful elephant herds as they come and drink here at Leopard Dam. Mia from the UK, you've asked whether elephants know how to pick things up with their trunks from birth. They definitely don't. I have seen many young elephants twirling that thing with reckless abandon, not knowing really what to do with it. They have to learn to use it, just like we as babies learn to use our hands to pick things up. At first, we just kind of push things around, then we're able to sort of grip them, and then eventually we have these incredibly dexterous fingers that can do all these amazing tasks. I mean, you've seen the artworks that people produce are incredible. So elephants are just like us in that respect. When they're young, they don't know how to control their tusks, and they often just flop them around and they fall over and they can't even walk really steadily. This one still looks a tiny bit unsteady on its feet. But once they get older, as you can see, these older elephants in the front really using their trunks perfectly to suck up water and then squirt it into their mouths. And I'm not sure what this male elephant is doing with its trunk. It was just folding it around. But yes, amazing. I mean, now, when the elephant learns how to use its trunk properly, it can literally pluck a single leaf or pick up a tiny rock from the ground, or just rip a whole branch off of a tree. You know, they're incredible tools as well. I think, you know, an elephant's trunk has more muscles than our entire body, so it stands to reason that it would take a long time for him to learn how to use all that muscle perfectly. That male elephant is doing a very weird thing with its trunk. You see how it's got it folded up under its tusks there. It's very odd. We often see big elephants, especially if they're in must, folding their trunks or resting them over their tusks because they're heavy, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but this elephant's just, I don't know, it's very odd. Trunk yoga. Yeah, you're right. I think it is a bit of trunk yoga. You got to keep it flexible. Got to keep it supple. So the elephants seem to be finishing their drinks now, just wondering at the waterhole what to do next. I wonder, are they going to go up the bank to feed, or they're going to go and swim? I know at Ndlovu Dam, Elephant Dam, close to our camp, at the eco training camp, they often go and swim after they've finished drinking. Let's just see what these elephants do.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
We have got here a long-range view of a baboon and his friend just below, sitting in a tree, enjoying the warmth of the sun, beautifully backlit, fringed by, what shall we say the colour is, creamed honey-coloured fur. Now, the reason we're sitting so far away from them is that if we go any closer, they'll run away. And they just look so peaceful and so happy on their tree there that I thought we'd just watch them from here. They feel very unsafe when human beings come close to the base of a tree and they're in it. And I mean, I think I've discussed this. No, I know I've discussed this before, but it's always astounded me at how, you know, a leopard will take refuge up a tree from just about anything except a human being. Likewise, a monkey or a baboon will take refuge up a tree from a marauding lion, or if they feel threatened by a hyena or by something else that might try and attack them. But a human being, they won't. They don't want to be in a tree if they're trying to get away from a human being, because they see a human being, therefore, as a tree-climbing predator. And the fact that that baboon thinks that any human being could climb up the tree and do it some harm is just astonishing. We have an absolutely fearsome reputation out here that really is not borne out by our physical skills as a species. Our physical skills as a species are very poor in comparison with most animals out here. Yeah. So it's interesting. You say that you're much more scared of baboons than they are of you. I suspect that's true of most people, except that you don't realize how afraid they are of you. But it changes because they learn. So if you go to the Western Cape of South Africa, where idiot human beings have fed the baboons despite being told not to, asked not to, begged not to, they still continue to do it. The baboons have lost their fear of human beings. They've learnt that we are nothing to be feared, and then they become relatively dangerous. Because if you don't give them what they want, they'll bite you. Yeah, they do sleep on branches, exactly. Probably thicker branches than that, but absolutely they sleep on branches. They sleep up in trees. I suspect they slept in the big tree behind the one they're sitting in now. But absolutely they sleep up trees. It'd be very dangerous for them to sleep on the ground. And I suspect that this group will come down the tree shortly and walk slowly towards the camp, where they will invade. They're very clever. Once they've learned how to open something, it's very difficult to keep them out. And it doesn't take them very long to learn. Yes, they have a particular joy in removing the sliding door to the Tumbeta camp. They simply take it, they know how to take it off its rails. And they went in there the other day, despite the fact that there isn't a morsel of food. They went looking anyway and totaled the place. It's not like they go in, open the fridges, have a look around and then leave. No. They go in and trash everything, and then, worst of all, they will relieve themselves in every available corner. It's a magpie shrike you can hear in the background. I'm going to press on towards the east. You're going to go up to the Kalahari and see if the meerkats have come out of their burrow.
So we're just watching a fantastic display by a little herd of Springbok. That they are just running around. They've been pronking. It is fantastic to watch. And this little herd has moved in the past 10 minutes now. And since we've been here. And when they actually moved into the area, they came running from the right to the left. And of course, we all got excited thinking, well, maybe those cheetah are moving in here. But as we're standing here, there's no sign yet of the cheetah or cheetah activity close by. But it is just good to know what's around. So there's those Springbok, there's Kemsbok here, there's ostriches here, and there's some Steenbok. This is just from, I mean, a lot of these things are miles away, and what we're looking through binoculars to see these, so you won't necessarily see them there. But these are all very, very, very good prey items for 2 cheetah males. The Kemsbok, it's a big adult bull, so they'd probably avoid that. But certainly ostriches, Springbok, Steenbok are well up on their menu. Yeah, the Springbok are just putting in such a nice display. And it's, it's almost like they're being super frisky early in the morning there. It's a little herd of females. There's 1 or 2 males in there as well. And that running and chasing, that's literally almost kind of a play behavior. The Springbok do a thing that we call pronking, where they run and they jump with this very, very arched back, and they puff out the hair on the rump. It's very, very, very distinctive, and they often do that in the presence of a predator, and it's like this high, like bounding leap. Other animals do a similar thing called stotting, a very stiff-legged jumping or bouncing, and the thinking there is that when there's a predator presence and they're doing that, it's advertising to the predator, don't even bother trying to chase me. I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm in good condition. It's not worth going after me. So, but these, you see, they're settling down nicely now. So, wow, it would be uber exciting if we actually got those cheetah moving through this area. Yeah, they're settling down now, moving up towards the dune crest. And Critter has said it is so cool to see that. I 100% agree with you. And it's all these fun little things that happen around you, when you're just sitting in one spot. What is of some concern, though, I'm not like overly concerned, but just interesting to note that there's no sign of the meerkats yet. There's tons of fresh activity here. They definitely went down here last night, but they haven't come out of bed yet. Whereas this time yesterday morning, they'd already been out for 20 minutes. But anyway, I'm not worried about it. It's just interesting, and it may be, and I don't want to jinx it, but it may have something to do with the pups. Maybe. Anyway, let's bite the bullet and just hold thumbs on this end.
Hello again, everyone. So for those of you who were watching just now, we were with 2 male lions up on a hillside, and while we were scanning with binoculars, we saw some rhinos, and so we came all the way down here, and we have found the rhinos, and it's a pity we can't see it because the grass is quite long, but there's a tiny little baby rhino in there as well. Where that black bird, which is called the drongo, where the drongo is, just to the right, kind of on the ground. I can just see its back or its shoulders. I can't really see exactly what it is. But I think it's just lying or maybe even standing in that grass. But there's a tiny little rhino there. So that's obviously the little baby rhino's mother that's with it. And then just off to the left, there's a big rhino bull as well. big male that's following them around. As we got here, I saw him lift up his tail and spray urine, which is part of his scent marking ritual, which gives us an indication that this is a big dominant male rhino of this area, so this is all part of his territory, and he's just checking out who's in his territory, which females and calves are in his territory. Okay, so I can just see the baby's ears moving, so it's definitely him. I think he's actually lying on his side. Oh, there, it's just standing up. Look at that. JT, these rhinos, when they're born, they're still, they're not tiny, but they're not massive. I would guess probably in the region of maybe 50 kgs, probably around about 50 kgs. And small little, they're one of the cuter like baby animals, a little baby rhino. They always got so much energy and they kind of bounce around and bound around. And it's actually not as small as I thought. I thought, oh, look at that. Excuse me. I thought that it was a lot smaller, but obviously with it lying down in the long grass, I couldn't see it properly. But now that it stands up, you can see that it's actually quite big. I'm trying to have a closer look to see how big its little horn is already. And that'll give us an idea of how old it is. So it is definitely lying down. This is probably where they have even slept for the night. Oh, Keith, sorry, I should have actually mentioned that. These are white rhinos. From this angle, the biggest difference is their mouth, but you can't really see their mouths from this angle. So the biggest difference that we can see here is when you look at them side on, that you can actually see they've got a big hump behind the head, and then it slopes down a little bit, then there's a little hump in the middle of their back, and then it slopes a bit down more, and then there's a hump towards their rear end, their rump. And that hump in the middle of their back is quite distinctive for white rhinos. So that's straight away how we know they're white rhinos. Also, they ride out in a big open grassland. They've got their head down eating grass. So those are all the ways of telling that they are white rhinos. And if you could see their mouth, which we might do quite soon, especially with this bull that's a bit closer to us, you'll see that it's a big square mouth as well. Okay, so I can just see that baby's horn. And it's already quite big. They are quite far away, but I would guess they're probably in the region, it's probably in the region of about a year old. And the mother, you can see the mother walking just in front of him, is full of mud, completely covered in mud. Fern, these rhinos, this area that we're in now, it's not so much about being hills, but it's just about being a grassland. Like a big open grassland like this is what grass is what these white rhinos eat. So it's just a perfect spot for them. Lots and lots of food, and they can. It's just the habitat that they are used to and what they are always in. Whereas something like a black rhino, you can't see it now, but behind us is like a bit of a thicket with quite a few trees. That's more the likely habitat for a black rhino. But for a white rhino, this is definitely the right kind of place here. These are all really fertile soils around here too. So the grasses that grow in this area are very good and nutritious, or most of them anyway, are very good nutritious grasses. There's actually a good one right here that I'll show you. Really good nutritious grasses. So this grass that I've got in my hand over here is called red grass. You can see it's got almost a bit of a reddish color and these small little inflorescence. And it's the base of these kind of grasses that the rhinos will want. It's a really good nutritious grass. Lots of buffalo will eat it. All the other grazing animals like wildebeest and zebra will eat it. And it's these types of grasses that make this a very good area for these rhinos. So they're probably about 150 meters off or so. And that's why I'm quite happy to stand up like this. They are a little bit higher than us, so it's hard to, if I'm sitting down in my chair, it's hard to see up the slope like that. And these rhinos don't have the best eyesight in the world either, so they have no idea. They can't see us anyway. I'm sure they've heard us, but yeah. Well, one other thing that we spotted was a big journey of giraffe up on another hillside, which we are going to try and go to. And while we do that, we're going to send you off to James with some other giraffe as well.
This one is standing on the banks of the great Marti riverbed, enjoying a meal of poisonous tambuti leaves, perhaps getting a little bit of a morning high. I don't actually think he's getting high, everyone. I think he's just eating what is good for him, but not for anyone else, or for very few others. We saw this fellow yesterday. He's got quite thin horns for a male. But he's got an extensively calcified skull. And we're just sitting now on a little patch of sun, which is glorious. Dylan, I imagine that they probably can have allergic reactions to plants and trees, but what would happen in the case of an animal that did have a genetic predisposition to an allergy would be that it would die and therefore not leave any offspring. And so it would be unlikely that things like allergies, which probably, I think almost certainly, have a genetic basis to them, and they're obviously triggered environmentally, but they do have a genetic basis. You'll find that if an animal is living in its natural habitat, the chances of it being allergic to a naturally occurring plant would be extremely low. It could be not immune to, so not all animals can eat this tambuti tree. It would kill some. But those animals know that. They know the taste. They don't eat it. It's not like they're going to come along, taste it and think, oh, this tastes good, and then be found dead underneath the tree. So I'm going to say no. I don't think that the chances of an allergy arising in a population of wild animals is very strong, as long as, let's say other plants weren't introduced. So if we went down to the Eastern Cape, where there's a lot of prickly pear, which is a Mexican cactus, if, for example, that's very good to eat for a lot of animals. Elephants eat it. A number of other animals eat it. If it was toxic, or if it created allergies, or it could potentially create allergies in indigenous African species because they wouldn't be used to it. I don't think it does, but it could potentially, if you know what I mean. So in the case of human beings, where our allergies seem to multiply almost as fast as our population does, it's because, as with so many of the things that afflict our health, they are afflictions of lifestyle. Where we live, the fact that we don't live in a natural environment, we put all sorts of chemicals and pesticides into our food, we grow food with that's genetically modified, which may or may not affect our ability to cope with it in our bellies. I don't know for sure, but I don't think anyone does. We eat things like gluten, for example. We're all probably relatively gluten tolerant, but it's become such a massive part of our diets that, some people just can't cope with the amount that we shove into ourselves, and so they become gluten intolerant because we have such a carbohydrate-rich diet, which is not something we evolved for. Some societies have developed the ability to cope with it, but, that's why we have so many allergies to so many different things. I was just reading an article on diabetes now, and, it afflicts something like 4 million South Africans because we have an obesity problem in South Africa. It's definitely linked with obesity. There's no question about that. And it's purely a lifestyle disease. It's not this is type 2 diabetes. There's no genetic component. I mean, I guess eventually there's a genetic component in so much as some people are predisposed to retaining or to carbohydrate intolerance than others. But, you won't find the same thing in a wild population because they eat what they evolved to eat, whereas we human beings don't. Very seldom do we eat what we evolved to eat. Hyena says everyone's gluten intolerant until the dessert menu comes around. Yeah, no, I definitely have that problem. I try to stay off sugar and carbohydrate as much as I can, but goodness gracious, I cannot resist the dessert menu. I'm absolutely hopeless, actually, when it comes to that. And if there are 2 helpings available, I'll have that too. I always find it so interesting, when I read about things that afflict human beings and think about how they affect us in relation to wild animals, it's just so clear that so much of our health is declining. Well, not so much declining, but our health troubles are caused by the fact that we just don't live or eat in a natural environment. We're going to continue along the riverbed. You're going to go back to Mike and some elephants.
So we followed that family of elephants northeast of the dam to see where they went, and we've come across this other, looks like a young male elephant. I don't think it was part of the group that went to the dam, but I thought it was a good opportunity for us to look at that trunk again in a little bit more detail. It's using it very, very dexterously to peel bark off of this knob thorn that it's actually pushed over, and it's using its foot to hold the branches down. It's really, really spectacular to watch them work with that trunk. Remember, they can't see very well, so when they are using their trunk, they're doing it all by feel and by smell. So you can, there's a few branches in the way at the moment, but I'm sure at some point it's going to lift up its head to try and get more of those branches. It's really, really wonderful to watch how they can use it. And actually, it's pushed over a knob thorn, which is quite interesting because this particular knob thorn has got lots and lots of these sharp bumps all over it, which are supposed to protect them from elephants. In this instance, it hasn't worked out very well at all. Each of those bumps on that knob thorn tree is tipped with a very sharp, hooked thorn or spine that is quite painful to press up against. It's meant to stop elephants from pushing them over. This large male elephant, or not that large, he's probably an average-sized male elephant, has not had any issues. Shaduli fan, do these elephants, or do elephants eat, drink, and breathe at the same time? They are their body structure, let's say the nose, with humans, our mouth, nose, and ears are all connected. So this elephant will not be able to to breathe out of its nose if it's drinking, or breathe in if it's drinking. Sorry about that, I just need to just close that. And so yes, no, they cannot eat, breathe and drink all at the same time. They're using one at a time. Well, because you see, sometimes they actually suck water up their nose and then squirt it into their mouth. So if you've ever been in a pool and breathed in whilst your head was too close to the water and you got a whole bunch of water in your lungs or in your mouth whilst you breathed in, it was very, very uncomfortable. It's exactly the same for elephants, I'm sure. They just don't show it the same way we show it. Oh, goodness. So I watch this elephant as it flicks its tail as well, and it enjoys this branches, snacking away. It looks very content, this elephant. It's very happy to continue doing whatever it wants to do this morning. It's still quite cold, so this elephant isn't flicking its ears back and forth yet. So we'll watch this elephant a little bit more. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Dylan with his meerkats.
So finally, they came out. A full 35, almost 40 minutes later than yesterday. But they are out, which is like a really, really good sign. And it is quite a relief. I mean, we had like a 99% confidence that they were here. They went down yesterday evening after 5. So the chance of them moving those pups after that is tiny. It's not impossible, but it's tiny. So we were 99% sure that they were here, but you never know. Like, weird things happen. But I'm just so very relieved that we actually are, that they are up and still here. I'm just kind of still scanning around for cheetah. But now that we've got like the best pair of eyes out, these little guys, if those cheetah do make an appearance, there's not going to be a threat to these meerkats from these two male cheetah. But just the fact that they are so alert and they've got such keen eyesight, they'll spot those cheetah like that, I'm pretty sure. So I don't think there'll be any issues with that. But let's hope, let's hope that there's some life on the Sky has just asked, and I love that name. My dog's name is Sky, which is, so it's a really cool name. But Sky has just asked, why are the meerkats called pups, or the little ones called pups? She feels that, or he feels that they should be called kits. Yep, well, yeah, what's in a name? A rose by any other name would still be a rose. Yeah, I'm getting all like deeper. But yeah, kits, pups, pretty much the same thing. But meerkats are, the little ones are known as pups. I've noticed something on this one that I didn't notice the other day, and you cannot see it from that angle at the moment, but we'll see it a little bit later, is the center one of those three there. So the alpha is the one on the right-hand side, the far right, as you're looking at it. That center one, on its neck, there seems to be bite marks on its neck. Now, they don't look too fresh, but I just didn't notice it the other day. So I don't know what's going on there. It seems to be very distinctive bite marks on its neck. There's a whole patch of fur missing. It could just be that I've overlooked it completely over the past couple of weeks. But you know, we're watching these animals like really, really closely. So I think we would have noticed it. And just the fact that they got out of bed so late this morning, maybe something went on here last night, eh? Who knows? But bite marks on the neck is quite unusual. Normally if a predator's got a Neva's wondering if a predator would try to get into the burrows. Totally. And you may not have been with us when we were following that other little group of meerkats, the group that we called the horses. When they had pups, a honey badger actually got into that burrow system. And, you know, the evidence was all there. We were hoping that it actually didn't manage to catch all the pups. But it seems that it must have, because 2 sub-adults went missing from that group and no sign of the pups. And the alpha female, Mosadi, and the other 3 actually vacated those burrows completely. So it's almost certain that honey badger was responsible for killing probably the 2 sub-adults and the pups in that group. So yeah, predators will definitely go down a burrow system like that. At this time of year, there's not much threat from snakes and monitor lizards. You know, they're cold-blooded things, so these conditions that we're in now, these cold temperatures, are not great for those kind of predators. But certainly mammalian predators, honey badgers, what else? African wildcats, caracal, leopards, birds of prey, you know, raptors, they will take meerkats, yeah. But down the burrow system, it's normally things like honey badgers that would be able to get in there, and then reptiles, snakes and monitor lizards. It is a stunningly beautiful morning out here. Hey, there's number 4 is out. So there's still two down below decks. So the alpha is now the one second from the right. And lots of evidence of suckling on her. So all's good so far, so good for those pups. Be interesting to see when the other 2 actually pop out. I'll just stick here and see.
Well, have a look at this big herd of buffalo that we have here. They are spread out all over this hillside. And while we were sitting here, I was counting, and I counted around about 80 or so that I can see. But I think there's some youngsters maybe in the long grass that I possibly can't see. So this is actually quite a big herd of buffalo. And it's also just such a nice scene here. We've got quite a breeze that's come up. And it's actually really nice just to sit here and watch these buffalo doing their thing. There's not even though they've got such amazing senses, there are not many of them that even know that we're here. The wind is coming straight from the buffaloes to us, so they definitely can't smell us. With the wind blowing that way and the distance between us and them, they're very, very unlikely that they can hear us even. So there might be 1 or 2 that have spotted us, but obviously at this distance they just have one quick look and they carry on feeding. You'll see they've all got their heads down and feeding, and just like the rhinos were doing just now, they'll also be looking for the same kind of nutritious, wow, that's a tongue twister so early in the morning, the same kind of grasses that the rhinos were after. And again, it's exactly why they're in the same area. It's really nice to just watch them slowly moving along this hillside. So right up in the front there, you'll you can't really see the difference because it's a bit far away, but there'll be some big dominant bulls up ahead, kind of bringing up the herd, taking the lead and bringing up the front of the herd. And then right on the far left, we've got a couple of the big old bulls that are trailing just behind the herd as well. And then in between, you've got a lot of the females and their youngsters, where it's nice and safe, protected by all the males around them. I don't know if you've ever seen big buffalo bulls. I'm sure you have on these. Twitch, yes, these are called Cape Buffalo or African Buffalo. I was just saying, I don't know if you have seen big buffalo bulls before, but they are not an animal to be messed with. They are huge. They've got really big, thick necks, strong necks. Those big horns on the top as well. Although the females have got the horns as well. The males are just a lot bigger. While they've been walking across, you might have spotted one or two that are lighter colour. And those little lighter coloured ones are some of the young ones. Well, from these buffalo moving through this area here, which is what they're just going to do for this morning, carry on grazing for a while, and as soon as it starts getting really hot, they might try look for some water. So I think we're going to carry on and send you across to Ngala with Barney.
So we followed the tracks of the whole Pride. Smart lines. They've walked all the way until they've crossed into the property to our east. And every time they go down to the property to our east, the roast males can't follow them there, which I think that's the trick that they're using to get rid of the males, because like you saw yesterday morning, how the males took over the carcass and ate almost everything in there. So as we come back from the boundary where the tracks crossed over, we picked up tracks of both the roast males. They headed back in deep into our property, because they couldn't keep up with the Pride going that way. So what we're carrying on doing now, we're going to follow up on these tracks of the males and see where they go, because they could go quite far, but they had full bellies. I don't see the reason why they could go as far west as where the other Pride is. But at the moment, they're coming right into the central part of our property, which is quite great news, because we might be able to find them as we carry on with these tracks. So the tracks of the Pride crossed sometimes early this morning. The tracks of the roast males that we are on now are seriously fresh. They could still be on the move, and I might drive around the corner and they might still be walking down the road. So we are going to try and keep up these tracks and see if we can come right this morning. But like we said yesterday, these lionesses are so smart, and they're realizing that if they, without going to the Birmingham Pride and the roast males, the relationship between the two is that the roast males are the fathers of the cubs. So they are the dominant males of the territory where the Birmingham Pride is. The other Pride to our west, which is a breakaway Birmingham, is also right in the middle of the roast males territory. So they are fathers of both Birmingham Pride and the Birmingham breakaway. However, the lines that are onto our east, the main lines that the roast males are scared of, I'm not sure which lines are they, but for whatever reason, the roast males seem to know that there is somebody bigger on the other side who is slightly bigger than them. So with all of this happening, it looks like the females have figured out a gap of managing to elude them. Every time they go there, the males go away, and when they come back, or if they hunt and kill something there, they might be lucky. You can see the tracks are still walking down the road here. They're very, very fresh still. So, yeah, if they hunt and kill something without the raw males, then they will be able to feed in peace without having to worry about the raw males stealing everything, as we saw yesterday morning. So we're going to carry on down this road with these tracks and see what happens. While we do that, we'll send you over to James with what he's got.
That is a very good description, a pair of horns in a thicket. Yes, it is a pair of horns in a thicket, belonging to a bull kudu, who's now got an itchy nose, poor fellow. So I'm taking a bit longer than I expected to warm up today. But sitting in the sun with this kudu is helping that situation. And he's got another lady friend coming from behind. There she is. Many of you raving about the kudu's horns. Yes, they are the most impressive set of horns, aren't they? I think it's probably between them and the Springbok, the oryx, in this part of the world. There are some particularly impressively horned oryxes that you find further north in Africa, which you might want to have a look at if you're interested in horns. If you're a hornologist. Oh, it is very delightful here in the sun. Yes. Well, Laura, you see, an itch at the base of the horns is actually not so bad because they are very good at scratching their itches on bushes. And there are any number of bushes that they can use to scratch their horns. So, yeah, I think an itch on the base of the nose, if you're a kudu, is probably a lot worse. At least the flesh around the whole base of the horns is pretty hard, so you can go and give it a good scratch on a tree. They're just disappearing down into a little riverbed. Let us continue.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
One's popped up a little bit closer to Jandre now. We're still puzzling over the marks on the one's neck. Like so, it's down the burrow's neck, so you can't see it. But it's just fascinating that, you know, all this time that we've been with him, and we've confirmed with Veronique as well that she's also unaware of those marks. So again, you know, you can hypothesize, well, what went on here last night, or maybe late yesterday afternoon. But the fact, I mean, that there have been other meerkat area, meerkat colonies, and so it could just be that they, you know, a group had moved in. There was some little altercation here yesterday evening, but it's, yeah, it's, I mean, we'd just be absolutely thumb-sucking there, what happened over here. But the animal doesn't look any the worse for wear. It's not like there's any, it's not compromised or anything anyway. It's just unusual. Number of doves flying over. They're heading down to the waterhole. Mrs. Zero has just said they have the cutest faces. They got adorable faces, these things. Very, in many ways, very expressive. So I wonder what goes through their little meerkat minds, though. The magnificent meerkat mind. I wonder what goes through their minds when they're looking at Jandre. It's like, oh boy. Sorry, what was that, Jandre? I don't think they understand that kind of facial feature. So they keep watching down into this valley. The greatest field of view, just out of interest from where we're sitting here, left-hand side of the screen. And that's really from here, from this burrow system where we're sitting, they've got a field of view on an arc probably of about, pretty 180 degrees, going up to, and it ranges from here down to over a kilometer, probably 1.5 kilometers distance. Whereas to the right-hand side of the screen, they limited to probably about 50 yards. So they keep looking down in this big valley a lot. And I just think it's because they can see more down that direction. But it also kind of raises the question of, well, what predators could be sneaking up from this other side where the field of view isn't so good. So where that meerkat is currently looking, that's where they can see the furthest. And again, it's just, you wonder, well, shouldn't they be looking more in the other direction? Chevy has just asked, so if the babysitter is sitting at the burrow all the day, when does it get to eat? When does it get to eat? And it's sitting here, so in the immediate area of the burrow as well, you can actually get, I'm just going to stand up and move around a little bit. There are food items close by to the burrow. So it's not that the babysitter is not eating at all. So if something comes ambling along here, a beetle or shame, there's hardly any armored ground crickets left. Chandra and I like favorite animal. One of our many favorites. But, so it can get some kind of food around this immediate area as well. But when others come back, then that group will start foraging around the immediate vicinity of the burrow too. So it's not that the babysitter is not going to get any kind of sustenance at all. And also it doesn't necessarily mean as well that it's the same individual day after day after day, because that also wouldn't work so well for a group of this size. So I don't worry too much about the babysitter. That babysitter will be getting plenty to eat. There wouldn't be any evolutionary benefit to compromising an individual within the group to that extent. Oh, I can see the pups from here. These tiny little pups. They're out. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. They're not out. Not yet, but they will be. Oh, Mike has got some elephants. I think head over that way. Sounds good.
So, Leopard Dam once again providing an amazing view. These elephants we heard coming down, and we quickly made our way. Oh, a trumpeter hornbill! Trumpeter hornbill just flying over the dam. Oh, that's so cool. We don't get them. Well, we don't often see them here. That's the first one I've ever seen. Sorry about that. Let's focus on the elephants. We'll talk about trumpeter hornbills just now. That was really exciting. So elephants have come down to the dam again. So there's a nice big herd here. Lots of babies and older ones. There's a few bulls there. One of the bulls, it looks like, has actually wandered onto a small island. Oh, listen. Oh, the trumpeter hornbill was calling. It sounds like a baby crying. Like, wah. Anyway. Sorry, I'm a bird nerd. What can I say? So one of the elephants actually walked onto this little island here of tamboti trees. The roots have binded the soil, and it's actually having to reach quite far down. It's a very interesting spot. I wonder why it chose to go there. Not wisely deciding to move off to where the rest of the herd is. I'd never get tired of watching these elephants. I'd like to put my hammock right there where that elephant is. Imagine being surrounded by elephants in the most calm. Oh, 2 elephants having a bit of a pushing match at the back there. I'd love to have a hammock there surrounded by all the elephants just coming down to drink. And you know, they're quite... they're very perceptive animals. I'm very certain they could tell if someone wanted to cause them any hassle. So as long as you sat quietly and didn't make too much noise, they'd probably come all around you and just continue their routine. They are very, very smart animals. Well, I guess when you're that large, you have a big brain. Josh, who's 10 years old, you've asked, how do elephants actually breathe? Is it just through the trunk or just through the mouth, or how does it actually work? So Josh, just like us, they can breathe through their noses, those long trunks, or through their mouths, depending on what they're doing at the time. These elephants, as they pick up water in their trunk and squirt it into their mouth, certainly won't be breathing through their trunks. They'll be breathing through their mouths. But many times we've seen these elephants, maybe even this exact herd of elephants, walking down into this water and just using their trunks as a snorkel. They're just their trunks sticking up. When it's much deeper, just the trunk sticks up above the water and they just breathe as they walk across, especially the young ones, who are much shorter than the adults. They can't breathe through their mouth when they're under the water, so they just stick their trunk up like a little snorkel. So Josh, they can breathe through both, but only one at a time, whichever one they decide. Just like us. If you've got a blocked nose, you will have to breathe through your mouth. So those trumpeter hornbills are really, really cool. I can't believe that we just saw one. They sound just like that. That was an elephant, but it sounds just like that. Now I wonder if that sounded like maybe one of the mothers just complaining. There's a very, very young calf just to the right of those 2 large leadwoods that we're all beginning to recognize so well. And I think that maybe the calf was disturbed and the mother had to just give a word of warning to the disturber to say, hey, stay away from my baby, it's so small still. There it's popping out. Hello, little one. See that? See that? The large elephant just pushing that smaller one away, saying, hey, back away. Using the tusk just as a little bit of extra incentive, giving it a poke up the bum. Oh, and there's the elephant. Oh, we also recognize this one. We actually had him on film the other day. He's got a bit of a damaged trunk, this one that's drinking water right now. The trunk is the full length. There's nothing missing, but it seems to have a hole at the back of it. So instead of breathing through the end, the tip works still. I've seen it using the tip. There you can just see the tip works. It can still pluck at things, but there's just a hole at the back of its trunk. So it seems to do the breathing through that hole. So it still can suck up water and do everything that all other elephants do. It's just a little bit damaged. I wonder, we haven't yet figured out how it happened. Maybe bitten by a crocodile at a waterhole like this, or maybe when it was younger it was born like that. Yeah, could be a lot of different things. Sassy Kathy is wondering if elephants ever cough or sneeze, and they definitely do. When an elephant sneezes, it's like a short, sharp little trumpet, and they often shake their head and they give a big... I mean, it looks like it's very uncomfortable. When your nose is so long, it must be very uncomfortable when they sneeze. And coughing, I mean, I can't say that I've ever heard an elephant cough before, but I'm certain they must cough also. The baby ones especially often sneeze because they don't really know how to control the trunk properly. So I'm sure every now and again they snuffle a bit of dust up their nose and they have to do a little sneeze, a little head shake. We had a little one earlier who was running up to our car. You know, often the baby ones do run up to our cars to investigate, and he gave us a big little head shake, and actually even rose up on his back 2 legs and stamped his feet on the ground. He was giving us a little tantrum, and the mother was just calmly feeding nearby, and when it realized that Mum wasn't backing it up, quickly scuttled back to the safety of mother. Oh, there's another whole herd arriving. Ah, wonderful. Look at this. Looks like all the elephants on Pridelands are arriving at Leopard Dam this morning. If you see that on the right, a whole other herd's just arrived. Busy greeting. Remember, they can communicate over huge distances with that infrasound that we keep mentioning. So they almost certainly heard these ones saying that they were at the dam, and this other herd has just turned up. Now, these herds might even have some related individuals. There might be some aunties or sisters or cousins in this other herd. So they're very social animals. So they've come to say hi. It's like a family gathering. See how those two push their heads together. There might be two young males. You know how they always... It's like an arm wrestling competition. You always see the young guys arm wrestling. It's basically the same thing. The babies all there. Leaping lizard, there are a lot of them. There are a ton of elephants here. I think I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23... Maybe over 30 elephants, because there's a whole bunch just to the right of our screen there. I don't know. Maybe you can all help me to count these elephants and see just how many there are. There were about 30 here at the moment. So it's 2 whole herds. In fact, maybe more than 30. There's a lot more of them still arriving on the right-hand side of this dam here. How many do you see? How many do you count? Help me out. I stopped counting at 25. My maths is not my strong point, obviously. Maybe one of you can help me out. It's amazing to see them all so calm together. And, you know, it must be so nice for the babies because, of course, they're very playful, just like human children, very intelligent, very playful, very curious. And so they really want to investigate everything. So it must be so nice to join up with other youngsters from other herds. Kay just says, there are lots of elephants, Mike. Just leave it at that. I agree with you. Why count when you can just enjoy? HiBeyond, 28 of them. I think you could be right. 28 sounds about right. I counted 25 and there was still a couple more. So 28 sounds a good number. That's a significant portion of the elephants. We sort of think that at any time on Pridelands, at any one moment, there might be about 60 elephants moving around, about 3 herds. And so, yeah, this is about half of them, maybe a little bit more than half. There's one elephant at the back, looks like it's standing all of its 4 feet on one spot. Interesting. So we're just going to enjoy these elephants a bit longer and see what they do at the dam.
All right, so we have managed to find the rest of Ngala Pride as well. The 2 males this morning, and now the rest of the pride with the lionesses and these 5 little young males that we're getting to know so well out here. If you were watching yesterday afternoon, you would have seen that we bumped into them on the road, and that road is... Wow, it's actually far from here. I was very surprised when these lions popped up here, because where they were eating that wildebeest yesterday was far from here. Obviously, they would have had full bellies after eating that whole thing. But you never know with these lions. They can move anywhere. But it looks like that laziness seems to start catching up with them now. They seem to all be plopping down, putting their heads down and starting to rest. Megan, it's a real big pile of lions. It's amazing how when they lie down, like they almost have to touch each other somehow. Like the lioness that's still got her head up, the one just to her left, like her paw is on that one's paw, and The other one just behind her is really touching up against her, and they all always have to be so close together and touching. Except the males. If the males were here, they would probably be lying a little bit further away. What a beautiful scene, though. A little bit of a rocky area to come up with in the car, but so for those of you who don't know, or maybe that saw yesterday afternoon, these two on the left, the one with her head up and the one just to the left of her, are the adult lionesses, and then the 5 that are scattered all around them are their youngsters, which are between a year and a half old now. And it's really special to see them out in the open like this. Ah, Steph, what a cool comment. I like that you are enjoying being introduced to all the different lion prides. These ones in particular are really nice. And then there's the mountain pride with the smaller youngsters. Oh, look at this big yawn coming. Not that big, but it was a yawn nonetheless. We're going to sit a little while longer with these lions and see if... Oh no. Oh, there's another one down. Oh, now all of a sudden they're all putting their heads up. So the last lioness put her head down and all the rest put their heads back up. But I don't think they're going to be moving too far today. It's nice and warm in the sun in this spot here. And I would say if it does get a bit hotter, they'll probably move up to the shade on the top of the crest here. But let's see. We'll spend a bit more time here and see if they do get up or move. And let's see.
It's the evening sky, and I think Lauren and David had him quite nicely on another tree very close by 2 evenings ago. Yes, 2 evenings ago. And this guy is now taking up a definite residence in the African hawk eagle's nest. Now, I don't know where the African hawk eagles have gone. I know they do have another nest, so perhaps they're breeding this year in that nest, or perhaps they've given breeding a skip this year. But this particular Verreaux's eagle owl seems to have decided that this is his posse, and he's not moving. I mean, of all the places to sleep, I'm not sure that thorny nest is necessarily the most comfortable. But I guess if you don't have to build it yourself, you can use it, right? You will cope with the odd spike in the guts. So it's not a great picture of him, but it just gives you an idea that massive owl is still living in there. So just to give you an idea of the size, he's almost as big as a great horned owl, but probably slightly smaller. I think the great horned owl is the biggest owl in the world, isn't it? He's a massive bird, that. You can hear it almost totally silent morning today. Not sure why it should be so silent. Jackie, I'm not sure it's so much a rental as it is an eviction or certainly a squatting. So I think the African hawk eagles have got 2 homes and they're going to come back to this one, finding it occupied by squatters. The magpie shrike not particularly pleased. Okay, it's just like everything else that people get good at in life. It's purely practice. The birds look all the same when you first see them, but that changes. The same with the trees. As soon as you become more familiar with things, they start to look different. You start to notice the differences. And that's just how we've managed to learn, all of us. It's just through experience, spending time out here. There's nothing metaphysical, nothing particularly difficult, nothing particularly intellectually challenging about identifying the birds. It's simply a fact of just doing it again and again. Some are better at it than others, there's no question. In the same way that no matter how hard you practice the piano, you're not necessarily going to be the next Ashkenazi. But you can certainly attain some proficiency. I think this is a fairly average view of a Verreaux's eagle owl, so we're going to move on while you go to Mike, who's also birding.
So just a moment ago, I had a little panic attack because I saw some trumpeter hornbills fly over where the elephants were, and I've never seen them here in Pridelands before. And here we found them on top of this large weeping boerbean. It's a difficult view. They're very, very far. Oh, there they're flying. There goes one. There goes another one. They're actually flying towards the dam. They're going to go over the elephants again. No. Of course, just as we point them out, they would fly away, but they might fly into a better position for us. I'm going to show you what they look like in our book, though. So here are some trumpeter hornbills, okay? This is what we've just seen now, and they did not have this large casque that you see here, this large thing on top of the bill. They didn't have that, so it could be that it's either a female, which has a smaller casque, or juveniles, or maybe a female and a juvenile. I'm not sure. They definitely didn't look like there was an adult male with those, as one of those pair. But it's a fantastic bird, and it uses this big bill that you see here. This is the mouth, the bottom part, and the bill and the casque is this thing on top, which I think forms two functions. One, it might amplify the sound of their calls to make it louder, and two, it might help to regulate their temperature. As the wind blows, it cools down, or as the sun rises, it'll hold it sideways to warm up. But a very, very pretty bird with a slightly green iridescent color and a white belly and this red or pink eye. And it's quite big. It's large for the hornbills. The trumpeter hornbill is about 58 centimeters from tail to tip. From tail to tip. So that's 58 centimeters. Quite large. That's 1/3 of the size of those saddle-billed storks we saw earlier. So what I want to do is maybe try and reposition us so that we can try and get another view of those trumpeter hornbills. And a new bird for most of our viewers also. That's fantastic. I mean, it's really something spectacular to see because we hardly ever see them here at Pridelands. I know they occur in the area, but I've never seen one here. I know they like to be close to larger rivers. They like to be in areas with huge, thick green trees like forests. And so Pridelands has got these two dams, Ndlovu Dam and Leopard Dam, which have nice green vegetation around. And because it's winter, it's quite dry, perhaps these birds are trying to find a new place to nest, which would be great. Imagine if we had the trumpeter hornbill family that we could watch and follow over the course of our time here. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move us closer towards the dam and see whether we can see them again. What do they feed on at this time of year, James Richards? I think they feed on probably insects and fruit. There's not a lot of fruit at the moment, but if there are fig trees, the figs will definitely fruit up multiple times a year. So I know there are a few fig trees along some of the drainage lines on Pridelands, so they probably feed on that. In fact, the weeping boerbean that's up there that they were sitting in before does have beautiful blossoms. Not at this time of year, but perhaps the sap or the nectar is having some insects, which will definitely attract the hornbills. Let me just have a quick look here. Because I don't see them very often, I don't know too much about what their diet is. It says mainly fruits, but it will readily take insects. So what we're going to do is when we get a chance, we'll watch them a bit longer and see what they're actually eating. But for the moment, let's send you over to some lions.
Alrighty, welcome back again. These lions are still very lazily lying here, but they keep looking up, or one of them keeps looking up, and I've just noticed there are a whole lot of vultures just up above us here. And there's just more appearing as we talk now, which is pretty incredible, but for them this is perfect conditions. The wind is coming straight up this hillside, which means there's lots of rising air, and they're able to then use absolutely no effort to fly around. And maybe they've seen these lions, and often where there's lions there's a carcass. Maybe they're just checking around here quickly, but I'm sure they'll quickly realize there's nothing here and move off and carry on circling around this area. And you never know, maybe they'll even find where this pride was eating the wildebeest yesterday. Anthony, they would, I guess. So the two males that we saw this morning are the dominant males of this pride. So they will be the fathers of these young males even. And actually just after we left those males this morning, we were coming down the hill and we stopped because there was a tree in the road. And as soon as we stopped, we think it was these lions, because it was off on this side of the road. We heard them roar, and then we actually heard the males straight after that, who were at that stage up behind us on the hill. We heard them answering and roaring back. So these lions, I think, were just communicating to the males where they were, and the males, having very full bellies, answered, but they didn't really care, I suppose. These vultures amaze me. You can look up and there'll be absolutely nothing in the sky, and then all of a sudden there's like 50 vultures above you. I don't even know how they sneak in so quietly. There's not too many now. I can count 6. Yeah, 6. And I'm sure most of these will be white-backed vultures. Sophie, yeah, I don't know if I would really call it sunbathing, but they are definitely in this sunny patch now, soaking up a bit of the sun. It's very cold. Listen, for South Africa standards, or Zululand standards anyway, where we are, it is extremely cold at night, and therefore they have to warm up a little bit in the morning just to get everything working again. So yeah, they will definitely sit out in the sun for a while warming up. Ooh, sorry, that was almost a sneeze. But as the day goes on, and it might get a bit hotter, or I'm sure it will get a bit hotter, they will move up to the shade. They don't want to be right in the sun in the middle of the day. Sure, they've still got full bellies. Now that they're lying down, you can really see it's like they swallowed a soccer ball. See, there's no movement except for those ear twitches that we were asking about yesterday. This and that, you say this looks wonderful. Would you like to also be lying on the rocks in the long spiky grass? It always amazes me with lions. Sometimes you look at where they're lying, and I suppose it's actually all the cats. Cheetah I've seen it a lot with as well. Where they're lying, and they're lying with like a rock digging into their back, or with their head like leaning on a rock, and you think, well, it can't be comfortable. But they don't move. They sit there, and it's just so weird. But I agree. I think lying in the sun definitely looks nice. Well, I think myself and Marcel are going to just sit here and enjoy the sun a little bit longer, like these lions are doing. And we'll let you carry on with your safari.
So these two roast males, similar thing to what the Pride has done. After they've lost the Pride, they just come across a huge elephant bull which is about to push down a tree. I'm gonna stop here quickly and have a look as he does that. He's a big boy. Go ahead. Looks like a banana in his pen.
Okay, opposite ya, but not just pen or gonna look, but not just pen, game puffy when you're getting Kovani. Kungram Savana too, a game puffy. You get your straight connection going up from a Parana Elephant Road. Utashin Kovani Street. Marakutu Minia Kukwana. She's blown was on the Wongana, nothing banks and never. It's a good woman with G1 to Mania.
Ay, woman, it's time I say child that tell her. Woman, ita chaya sweswi mi ta ni kuma se ita ta imanyanda market dakhulu. So what happened now while we were sitting here and waiting with these elephants, our trekkers, great trekkers, Richard Koza and Ernest Gordy just gave me a call. Those lines, the distance they've covered ever since they left the Pride, it's more than at least 10 km from where we trekked with the vehicle to where the guys have gone on foot. The sections in this property, sometimes in between the roads, is like seriously great distances. They have walked halfway through in this thick block and they just found these lines. And I'm afraid, I'm going to try and go in there. I'm afraid we're going to finish the show before I get there because it's going to take a while to get there. However, this is great news for our afternoon drive. This is possibly where we're going to make our way back to come and try. So it will be excellent for me to go in there with these guys to show me where these lines are so that in the afternoon we know where to start if they already moved again. Which I doubt, looking at the distance they covered, wherever they are now, they will possibly spend most of the morning there if there's nice shady spots after such a long distance that they covered. So as we say that, I'm going to start and reverse. If we get another view of this big elephant, we might stop quickly, but I'm going to start making my way back towards the trekkers and see what we can get. So we'll send you over to Tswalu with the meerkats while we maneuver around and try to go back to try and find our trekkers with the lines.
So it's warming up very quickly. So the first morning in weeks, literally, that I've actually taken my jacket off. So yeah, this temperature very quickly now. And these meerkats are, it's interesting how they like split up a little bit, you know. When I say split up, I mean we've got 5 sitting here now, but there's 3 at each at a separate burrow entrance on the right here, well, in other words on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side there's 2 also at separate entrances. But obviously it's, I mean, still one burrow system. It's just interesting to note that. And we've still been puzzling over the marks on that one's throat. So I'm just going to sit down here now that they're a little bit more relaxed around my presence over here. I want to see which one it was that had does. Okay, it's not you, it's you. Kathy has just asked, are there more male and female? You're 50 over there. But in some, that's a good question, because in some species, the male-female ratio can be quite skewed towards more males, particularly in light of things where you get a huge male dispersal out of a group, just because of the attrition rate on males can be very, very high. In terms of, as they disperse, they fighting with other males, they've got to fend for themselves. So your mortality rate there tends to climb, so they're compensated by having more male pups.
Yes, now he's being funny. He was being relatively amusing until he heard he was going to be on the screen, and then he behaved normally. Now he's sort of being semi-funny-ish. With the security of his mother just in front of him. There's quite a big herd heading sort of slowly towards us. Grazing peacefully as that peaceful time of the day comes upon us. And I really think that elephant baby is simply bored. He's not actually alarmed at us, he just wants to see how we react. Because he's so tired of trying to pick things up with his little trunk. Yes, Alana, he is a real sweetie pie, isn't he? A very cute little fellow.
Morning, Greg. It's Henry. I'm on but I think I'm the only one. Thanks, Henry.
A whole lot coming towards us now, the other side, BK.
Yeah, I'd like to just go on to Baboon.
You can hear the white-browed scrub robin giving us a nice little call. Oh, sorry, BK, I didn't realise he was going to walk that far behind us. You're going to get a crick in your back. Our little guy's approaching us now, BK. We're being attacked. You can go back to him now. Yes. We are very intimidated. Oh, is that a yawn? I think he just had a big fat yawn. And now he's feeling a little bit ashamed because his bigger friends are coming through saying, "What are you doing?" Yep, Helen, you agree. You're also tired of picking things up, are you? I doubt it's because you have to pick up spiky bits of grass to eat, though. Or maybe it is. Right, they should pop out now the other side. Probably on the road. I'll roll forward, shall I, BK? Come on. Are we moving? Yes, we are, very slowly. Oh, they're out. There we are. Good morning, my dear. How are you? lovely big herd. I suspect they're going to go down and seek the shade and shelter provided by the Umlawamati, which is the main river, and I use the term loosely, that flows through Djuma. Good. Anna-Marie, you say that baby Ellie made your day. That's excellent. It certainly made my morning. I'm hoping that the breakfast I'm going to consume very shortly is going to make my day so far. Another little one in there giving us a bit of a glare. The mama with another baby. I think there are about 20 elephants here.
Look at the size of this beast. Not looking so happy. Look at how he's opening up his ears to make himself look as big as possible. It's already big. I don't know what he's on about, opening up the ears. He's not entirely relaxed with us. Yo, listen to that as he walks, crash through the bush, not trying to walk around at all. See that black bird following him as he walks through, the fork-tailed drongo, which is following him around as he disturbs and flush the insects off the ground. Try and see if we can get another better gap just up ahead. Let's move slightly behind the trees for the time being. So, look at him shaking his head. Threatening gesture going on there, walking all over the bushes. More saying, if I can squash this bush, I'll squash it too. Luckily, we're parking at least about 80 to 100 meters away from him. So we've got a little bit of time. Should he looks like he's becoming aggressive towards us, we've got time to stop and move on. Look at that showing off, eh? Walking right into the bushes, not trying to walk around. Ooh. For in case you doubted me when I said it's a bull, his fifth leg is out. And he disappears. There we go. See if we had another gap up ahead. He's going further and further away now, which is good news in a way, since he's looking a little bit grumpy. Not gonna try and drive off-road for a guy like that. Tell me 100%, we definitely have to. That's why we will not even try to drive off-road for a big bull like that. When he's a little bit grumpy, we're staying on the road just so that if he asks us to leave, we can be able to start and take off well on time. You can see if you look in between his eye and ear, just so that now that he's got that whipping gland, that is a sign that he's in a stage called mast, which mast is a stage where an elephant bull is ready to mate. This is an animal that you need to treat with extra respect. I'm glad I'm on the road and that is as far as he is, because with them being in mast, they've got a continuous headache and they sometimes be grumpy, and their mood swings, sometimes it's just unbelievable and things happen too quickly. Sometimes 1 minute you think that everything is fine, and the next minute they just, without any warning, turn around and start coming for you. Which is why right now the distance we are on is giving me a little bit of a peace of mind, because should he decide any of those things that I mentioned, then we can be able to start and go. Ooh, change direction, walking into nice clear gap. It's always a treat. He looks like he's keeping an eye on us, although we're quite far. But he is keeping an eye on us. Did you see that fork-tailed drongo again? Maximizing the chances of getting food while this bull is around. He's quite an old bull, so old bulls tend to deal with masts much better than young bulls because they've been in this situation in multiple stages, so they over the time have learned how to control themselves. I think even on the distance that we're keeping, if it was a younger bull just on his 20s where he still thinks that everything is about him, we could have been told earlier on or now to leave, but this bull seemed to be not too bothered. He's being quite picky on what he feeds on. Look at that. It's all over some bush willows, but he went and get like a nice little rose from a raisin bush. Let's watch and see if he's going to eat the whole thing or he's going to chuck some of it out. And it's gone. Okay, a little bit of a piece dropping out. Look at how wrinkled this is behind. Earlier on we saw him, it looks like he was a little bit itchy. He was scratching his butt against the tree. It was a really big tree, but it looks like the tree was going to fall over. So this bull is heavy. Again, it's just a magnificent animal indeed. It's still amazing that you can find big bulls like this. And of course you can see he's alone, so he's moving, maybe looking to see if he can join up with some heads in particular, because he is still in the stage where he can get to mate. But right now it looks like he's got his priorities right. He's feeding first and then ladies later. Look at him, he just got a mouthful of all those raisin bushes. At least at the moment is so while you watch this fork-tailed drongo bounce up and back and forth, getting all those little insects that this elephant is disturbing, I'm gonna send you over to live with these lines. And we're most likely to also just leave this elephant alone as he carry on feeding and see if we can go find our trackers and maybe they can show us where those lines were.
He says we're going to let you have a look at these lines one last time before we close the show. And this, you just look at the face of this lioness and she's actually just such a beautiful animal. She's quite a young lioness, so hasn't got any scars or cuts or scratches even on her face. She's just really beautiful. You often see with the males how cut up and scratched their faces, but these females are often really perfect. But as you can see, the rest of her family, the rest of her family is fast asleep in the little puddle of love. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, fast asleep in the puddle of all the lions there. And I think from myself and Marcel, we are going to say goodbye for this morning. And we hope you've had an amazing drive with all of us. And remember to tune in again this afternoon for the afternoon drive. It's a pleasure, Vessel. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I think, we had quite a lot of luck. 2 male lions, the Pride, the buffaloes, the rhinos. So we've had a good morning. Oh, one last little rollover for you.